am the officer commanding the Regiment of Royal Artillery guarding this camp. Our most unpleasant task has been making the SS, of which there are about 50, bury the dead. Up to press, we have buried about 17,000 people, and we expect to bury about half as much again. When we came here, conditions were indescribable. The people had had no food for 6 days and were eating turnips. The cookhouses have now been organized, and although they have to be guarded so that everybody gets a fair share of the food, things are now going fairly well. The officers and men regard this job as a duty that has to be performed, and none of us are likely to forget what the German people have done here.
Bergen-Belsen was a Nazi concentration camp in northwest Germany, originally established as a prisoner of war camp. Then in 1943, parts of it became a concentration camp. Intentionally, this was an exchange camp where Jewish hostages were held with the intention of exchanging them for German prisoners of war held overseas. The camp was later expanded to accommodate Jews from other concentration camps. The conditions at Bergen-Belsen deteriorated rapidly, and its death toll climbed. It was designed for 10,000 prisoners, but at the end of the war there were arrival of Jewish prisoners which were forced to evacuate from Auschwitz and other eastern camps. It held about 60,000 people, most of whom lacked any food or shelter. Although Bergen-Belsen contained no gas chambers, more than 35,000 people died between January and mid-April 1945 from starvation, overwork, disease, and towards the end of the war, a typhus disease brought some of the most worst living conditions of any of Germany's camps. Anne Frank also died of typhus disease at Bergen-Belsen in March 1945. 28,000 prisoners died of disease and other causes in weeks after the British Army liberated the camp on April 15, 1945. The British were forced to bury thousands of corpses in mass graves evacuated on the site. Bergen-Belsen was the first major Nazi concentration camp to be liberated by the Western Allies. There were 48 members of the camp staff, and 11 of them, including SS Commander Joseph Kramer, were sentenced to death by the British military court. After the war, Bergen-Belsen became the largest displaced person camp in Germany. Most of its residents later immigrated to Israel.